Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here today with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. Okay, so if this is your message, I'm picking up that you are going through a time in your life where you're very confused. There's ego death energy around this. There's also a resistance, there's a confusion, and there is a misunderstanding of certain archetypes. And I mean this in terms of like I think a certain person in your life, but also a person who is kind of a harbinger energy, okay? I'm hearing hark the herald. So this is a herald that is sort of announcing its judgment energy here. They've unearthed something about this person and what they've said, what they've noticed in your life and what they've brought up to the surface. It's being brought up for you to see this clearly, but that's what is inducing this swirling, confusion, whirlwind energy within you, because you have looked at a certain person, situation, phase in your life from a certain perspective for so long. But this person comes in, hark the herald, they have blown their trumpet and the dust has kind of blown off of whatever this is. I can see that this is very divinely guided. This is divine intervention energy. You may have come a cropper, is what I'm hearing. You may have come up a cropper of this person, met them, engaged with them in some kind of like serendipitous way. It might feel supernatural, but this is meant to be a catalyst energy for you and for your life, but it just might feel like everything is on fire. And I think even emotionally, I'm kind of getting the image of somebody who, it's like there's a fire within you. It's very uncomfortable. Your skin's kind of itchy. It almost feels like if you could pull your skin off, you would, in order to air out this fire energy, because it's massively uncomfortable. But I'm getting this sort of the purification energy of this like fire, right? Obviously I'm speaking in metaphor, but it's very deeply uncomfortable, but this is a purification, and I'm seeing a phoenix rising from the ashes. But because of the discomfort that you are in, that you are attributing to a person here who has, in your mind, in your terms, induced this discomfort in you, the ego is lashing out. The ego is saying, I had a structure. I felt good, and me like to feel good, right? It's kind of that, I don't mean this as an insult because we all do this. This is a function of the human experience, but it's that infantile. When I'm hungry, I cry. When I need to poop, I poop my pants, and somebody's going to come fix it. It's very, it's unchecked kind of, it feels this way, and so I think it's this way. And because you feel agitated in this space, the ego goes, me no likey, that must mean this is bad, and it's rearing up your defensive nature, right? This is you're drawing up something here from the ego. This is classic ego stuff, okay? So when people are talking about the ego, this is what they're talking about. And I do think the ego is trying to defend itself and potentially you from this ego collapse. And I'm picturing that tower card energy, because there's that tower energy is something strongly built up. And a lot of times the tower, I don't think we talk about this enough, but the tower can be a psychological structure. So again, you could have thought that you were playing a certain role. And I am kind of getting this is like indoctrination into some kind of worldview. And I'm seeing the emperor card. So it could be that there's an emperor involved, very patriarchal kind of framing of something, and I want to talk about that in just a second, but I want to put that to the side here. But oftentimes what I'm going to use the word abusers do, or people who are overly controlling, is they love to give us a frame. They love to give us a story and a narrative that allows us to view ourselves in a way that feels psychologically good to us. Okay, I need you to do this job. I need you to take this stance. And they tell you you're a hero for doing it. It's flattery and it's praise. And you may have really bought into that. Well, I'm sacrificing in this particular way, but also benefiting in this particular way, and I'm a good person for having done that. But again, there's this sense of a messenger being sent to you from God that was meant to ruffle feathers. This is what I'm talking about, where part of this spiritual lesson, this divine intervention, is shaking up what you thought you knew about the people and the roles that they play in your life. So for instance, angels, right? Like archangels, those are not nice beings. I know a lot of people think, an angel, everything's good and fluffy and you feel like you're floating on a cloud. They are warriors. Angels are warriors, and they don't give a flying hoot about protecting your ego. If you are out of alignment with truth energy, God energy, they're going to tell ya. And if you are out of alignment with that, you're expected to get back into alignment. That's why they're sent into your life. They've got a job to do. They are immensely loyal to the truth. They are immensely loyal to God, and absolutely not your ego. And if your ego wants to oppose them, it's just made itself an enemy of an angel. and they've got a job to do. And it's not going to be done from vengeance, and it's not going to be done from cruelty, but it will be done. And so I feel like that's the kind of energy that you've come up against here. And for some of you, I can't help but shake that this is maybe like a therapist. And that's the other role that I want to challenge here for you, because I've heard so many people, it's very specific here, but I've heard so many people, like just in casual conversation, they'll be like, well, my therapist says this, and they say that. You know, they almost bring up what their therapist has said in a like a therapy session as like a justification or as like a blame chip to throw at somebody. Like, well, I've been processing this in therapy, and my therapist agrees that you're a shit show, you know, or like whatever it is. And they fundamentally misunderstand the role of a therapist and the role of therapy, because a therapist is not judge, jury, and executioner. A therapist is actually not an authority in the situation. And I want to talk about that, clinging to some kind of authority. I'm back to the Emperor card. I'm back to the frame, right? And you were given a frame about authority and about what that means and about, you know, and things are just not going according to that plan that was laid out, and it's confusing you. And I think you're mad, but it's like Spirit wants you to turn around and be mad at the right energy, the energy that gave you the wrong frame to begin with, that you complied with to begin with, and challenge that. And I'm hearing this is your chance to kind of be on the right side of history, I'm hearing, or to be on the right side of your life, or to help this process along, which feels very much like a rebirth. So it's uncomfortable. There's the birth pangs. There's the swollen feet. There's, you know, you get stuck on the stairs because you can't turn around and you need help. You know, it's all of that stuff, you know, that's like really, really coming up. But back to this misunderstanding of the role of therapist is a therapist's job, first and foremost, is to be a healthy mirror to make you seen. And there's this kind of two-way street a therapist tends to walk, which is making you feel seen and not crazy. It's like, absolutely, it makes sense that she would feel this way and that way. Absolutely, because of how our minds work and how our systems work, this absolutely makes sense that you'd be having this reaction. That is very different than saying this is the truth of the situation. That is very different. And you got a lot of people engaging in therapy that don't have that basic understanding that somebody validating your experience is the starting point to helping you disentangle it. And they're not, if you have a good therapist, they're not leading you on, and they're not pumping your ego or anything like for some nefarious purpose. If you have a good therapist, and not all of them are good, therapists are people too, but if you have a good therapist here, they are going to hold up that very strong mirror. And it's to help get you to see the movement in the mirror, to see what's actually potentially going on, to get you to see certain aspects that you didn't see before, and thus changing, transforming, again, the phoenix rising from the ashes, the way you're relating to yourself, the way you're relating to the people that are involved, to help you see this from a different lens, a higher lens, a healthier lens, a lens that is more true to reality, and to put yourself in context and these other people in context. But it doesn't mean that they're just there to stroke your ego. They're not there to stroke your ego. And some of you may, this could be, I'm getting a strong feminine energy here as well, which again might be throwing in with this energy of like collapse. Okay, well, females are supposed to be nurturing, but I'm also getting that energy of a mother. This is another archetype. So there's layering of archetypes here. The archetype of like a mothering kind of energy. But I'm hearing a mother say, knock that shit off. Knock it off. Because a mother's job, again, yes, she's nurturing, but she's supposed to raise you up good. And up, we've talked about this on the channel, up, sweet baby honey, is a very difficult direction to go. Think about a rocket launching up into space. Right? It requires a lot of kinetic energy. And it also, you can't waver. It's got to go straight and directly up if it's going to pierce through the atmosphere, right? Which we all need to kind of do in our life. It's the plant trying to push through the barrier of the seed. It's the butterfly trying to push through the cocoon. So you need this kind of energy in your life that keeps you on the straight and narrow, right? Because the whole metaphor of the straight and narrow path, which is a religious phrase, is you're on it or you're not. You're on your path or you are not on it. It's one foot in front of the other. That path could honestly go anywhere, right? It can go left, it can go right, but the straight and narrow is it's your path. It's one foot in front of the other. You're on your path or you're not. So you can't get swept off your path by pretty delusions and things that feel good, a sweet talking energy. And that's another confusion that I feel like is going on in this space. This sweet talking energy, this buttering you up, this praising you, it's not always good for you. It's a lot of times it's not. We need people around us that'll tell us the God's honest truth. The God's honest truth. Now I'm back to the archangels again. The God's honest truth. So you've been sent some sort of earth angel, okay? Earth angel. And remember what I said about angels in the beginning. They're not nice and they're not sweet. Some of you have been really pulled off your path by believing some kind of charlatan energy that just butters you up because it makes your ego feel good, and you mistake that ego feeling good energy for that being sweet and of the divine. No, a lot of bad goes on in the world because of that. So it's this sweet talking energy that ultimately leaves you feeling hollow, and ultimately leads you feeling depressed, and ultimately leaves you feeling like shit. Whereas you've got this divine intervention energy that is a very strong shake up energy. You've ran into the end of the road here, and it's got the energy of it too, of Uttara Bhadrapada for me, which is in the middle of Pisces. So there's some kind of spiritual connotation to this, but Pisces is also the sign of like loss, and you might feel lost. For some of you, this is like, again, a group. That Emperor energy, again, is sticking out to me. Some kind of leadership with a group. It was something that was very well held in place. That frame was so beautiful to believe. It gave you purpose. It gave you an excuse. It did give you psychologically, I think this felt good to you, where it gave you, you just got to believe in whatever you were told your role was and everybody else's role was, and you got to kind of throw over the authority of believing that role to somebody else or to a system, whether that's a religious system or a workplace environment or something here like that. And that felt very good to you. But this is an ownership thing where you're owning your own place in the world. You're owning your own authority in your life. You're realizing that you are in fact responsible for your own actions here. You need to take responsibility for believing something that was not true, some kind of false frame. And in doing that, the spell is broken. I think a tower here is broken, something long-standing. But it was always in the way. It was always in the way. And so this is actually very healthy energy. Uttara Bhadra, going back to that, is it really, I'm hearing the nearing of a cycle approaches, because it's the second to last nakshatra in all 28 nakshatras in the entire zodiac. So I'm just, again, it's that harbinger energy. And harbinger, again, it's this sounding of the alarm, like there's something else that's coming in. This is, again, they're kind of messing with the frame here. This is not a punishment. Like, okay, well, you've been warned, like here comes this punishment. And this punishment is just completely God's choice. And it's completely divorced from anything that you've been participating in up to this point. That's not the case. This is the natural outgrowth of believing a falsehood and believing some kind of false setup here, is that you reap what you sow, but it's not a punishment. Don't look at it from, well, you reap what you sow. I mean, the divine is kind of parenting us in a way, but it's something like the end and the means are one. Like whatever you've been involved in has given birth to this. Like it's connected to that, and you have to oppose it, or you have to kind of at the 11th hour come in and say absolutely not, and like oppose the right energy. But in order to be able to do that, you've got to see things clearly, and you've got this angelic energy that's probably very no nonsense with you, and is telling you that you need to knock it off. And it's that harbinger energy, because things are going to go wrong. That's, again, that mother figure. You act like that, things are going to go wrong. My dad used to say to me when I was a kid, I love you too much to let you act that way. That is this person coming in. Kid, I love you too much to let you act that way. And this is leading to a reconciliation. And first and foremost, I feel like you have to reconcile your beliefs, okay? And it's bringing you home to yourself. And I feel like this is inner child stuff. I remember the first time that I ever had any kind of like energy work or anything. I was like really like suspicious of it, but I really trusted the woman doing it, and I was like, I might as well like kind of try this. Anyways, she was talking about like my inner child and describing her to a crazy degree, but she was like, man, like she's confused and she's scared and she's alone, but you're here now. And I just get the image of like the adult me. And I've always wished for this, like since being on a spiritual journey. I wish like me now, I wish I could have been my friend, like at an earlier stage. I wish I could have been there. Like, when I was a kid, a person like me, I wish I could have just dipped in and out if time travel was real, just to give her a hug, just to tell her a certain thing, just to tell her to hold on, or that guy she's with ain't shit. Like, I just wish that so much. And I feel like that's the energy that you're coming in. You're coming in as the parent and the child, and you're getting that part of you online to say, come here, honey, come here. And you're just giving yourself that hug. It's going to be okay. All right. It's going to be okay. And that's the part of it. And it starts with reconciling your beliefs. And one thing I want to say about this, okay? For some reason, this is coming through in like conservative, liberal sorts of things. Now, I don't know, for some of you, maybe this is a part of it. It's like you could have been involved in a certain kind of camp. like a very campy kind of perspective, but it's learning what the other perspective does really well and learning how to use that as a tool. It's taking that very nuanced perspective instead of falling prey to like getting in one camp, painting your face the colors of whatever that camp is. And it's coming through this way just because this is the way my brain kind of relates to it. I live in America. It's very like divided politically culture, but this could be anything here in your life. And I think, again, this relates to that emperor energy, the frame that you were given. I have the right way and the wrong way, but it's always about balance. And I think that's something that you're being taught here as well. It's always about balance. So one thing that I've learned, because I have tended to fall on the more like lefty kind of side of things, like we all need to take care of each other and things like that. But the things that I listen to everybody, and like the thing, and I wouldn't consider myself in either camp now, but the things that I started to notice that conservatives do really well, they're always really on point with unintended consequences. So if you can listen to like conservative pundits and thinkers and things like that, they're really, really good at unintended consequences. The left is really good at saying like, that challenging that emperor energy, because that's one thing I would say conservative energy tends to like be less good at, is they really love authority. They kind of look through the lens of authority, who has the authority in the situation, so they can tend to treat people who should not be put in some kind of subservient or they infantilize, like they want to, or there's a drive to, and the unconscious shadow of that energy. I'm not saying every conservative is that way. I'm not saying every liberal is one way. I'm just saying that kind of thought tends to put, you hear a lot about like bosses' rights or anything. They kind of find the authority, and then they really put this like parent-child relationship into adult spheres of, and the left does a good job of challenging that. And so it's like and I'm not saying you have to agree with me, I'm not trying to have a political discussion, but I'm saying for yourself, kind of figure out, well, I really like this side of things because it helps me identify the potential pitfalls. It helps me to realize this or that. And I want to go back to the therapy thing with the finding the authority, because therapy is first and foremost a form of self-empowerment. It needs to be self-driven. You need to be drawn into having a therapeutic relationship. If that's not your path, then it's not your path, and you should be the authority in your own life. So people who say things, I'm hearing the phrase like mandatory therapy. People who are like, oh, but you should have mandatory therapy. If you're not a criminal, you shouldn't have mandatory freaking anything, and there's a lot that can go wrong with that, so therapy can be a very good thing, but then again, in that kind of shadow conservative energy of always looking for the authority, and it's used to disempower people, well, therapy can be used in a very negative, very controlling way, on that side of things. So I don't know if that's like relevant. Again, I hope that I'm not trying to be political, and I don't find myself in either of these camps. I try to understand what each of them does well in order to paint a holistic picture of the world for myself, So anyways, moving on from that, I just feel like there is some kind of energy that's been brought into your life that is this kind of harbinger energy, and it is leading you to some kind of reconciliation. For some of you, this is going to end up with a reconciliation with a person, but I feel like overall in this, there needs to be an ego collapse, maybe a disenchantment and a disillusionment with some sort of frame that you've had. And you need, just because it's your frame doesn't mean it's a good frame, right? You've got to kind of break down whatever this frame is in order to see yourself clearly. And it's reconciling you with the self, and it's illuminating you in some way, and it's helping you to be more confident in who it is that you are. But it's coming through in this Uttara Bhadrapada energy, which Uttara Bhadrapada, and again, for some of you, you might actually be the person doing this for somebody else. Maybe it's hard for you to stick the landing on certain things and to say no, because you don't want to be a sweet talking energy, because you know where it can lead, and you're being asked to do this, and Spirit is saying you're part of this divine intervention. Please stay strong. But for others of you, you're experiencing this coming from another person. So again, Uttara Bhadrapada energy, it's hypercritical. So you could be going through a phase in your life where you feel nitpicked. You've got this boss energy, or you've got this therapist that's not being the way you think they should be, and you want to bring power dynamics into it and say, you better stroke my ego, man, or I'm leaving. Resist the urge. Like, I'm not telling you to see how, if you feel like abuse is going on, then definitely don't stay. But that's much different than somebody just kind of pushing back a little bit and in a very tactful, professional way. That's much different. You got to figure out what's actually going on, and it can be hard to do that if the ego is so active. So there's a lesson in ego here, and it's almost like there's been a poisoning of the blood. Like, I'm seeing that like metaphorically. Something's gotten into your system, and it felt really good, like at the time. And so it's like this is drawing out the infection. And you've got immune cells that are activated, warrior cells that are going in, but it's like they need to fight the correct enemy, if that makes sense. And I'm hearing the enemy is within. That egoic enemy, the ego that thinks it's you, the ego, the arbiter of decisions. So there could also be decisional energy here that, again, it's giving you a position of authority, but Spirit is saying use this wisely. Use your decisional energy wisely. Do not keep a camp around you that will never challenge you, that will just always lull you back into the fantasy of something that feels good for yourself. Beware of that. Beware of that, because there's a hearkening energy here of, look, this is coming down the pipeline because of what it's something that you've co-created with. Believing some kind of delusion, some kind of falsity, this tower energy is going to collapse because it's out of alignment with truth. So it just naturally will. Those are the laws here. Nobody's doing it to you. Those are just the laws here. So just know that that's coming. You're being given an opportunity here and now because of how loved you are by the divine and by your guide team and everything like that. But you're misunderstanding the love energy because you think love has to be sweet talk, ego stroking energy. And they're pushing back and saying, what a reduction of the love energy. You don't see that with your parents, not with healthy parents. That you would say that's neglect. It amounts to neglect in the brain, right? When you don't have somebody raising somebody up and challenging that. So they're getting this all switched around here. And there's a divine timing element here to this. And maybe you're having anxiety here about a reconciliation and you want, So if this involves another person, it's also like this egoic structure, this false structure has to crumble in order, because you actually may be dealing with a soulmate. If there's an actual divine connection here, I kind of feel that. If you're wanting to reconcile and there's an actual divine connection here, meaning this is a soulmate or a twin flame, however you're relating to that energy, baby, you got to get on board with the divine program here, because the only way that this is going to actually be stick and truthful is if you're in divine energy. You can't be loyal to some kind of false god or false structure. You're going to get around this person and it's going to blow up again because you're not in the correct alignment energy. So this needs to crumble first. They're saying that this needs to crumble first. So some of you are spot on about a soulmate energy in your life. Some of you are spot on about a twin flame energy in your life, but you're doing the preparatory work. And this is actually a divine intervention between the two of you. And this is kindness. And again, this is love, because otherwise you're going to build some negative, nasty karma here between the two of you. And so there's a protection here. So I'm going to leave that there. That was a lot of information. I hope I didn't trigger anything too bad. And that the heart and soul of this message is able to kind of get across. But that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.